Now I am going to start chapter 5. This chapter consists of the discussion on parabolic partial differential equation. The mostly occurred parabolic differential equation is heat equation or the diffusion equation. The phenomena of diffusion occurs in many natural systems like diffusion of heat, diffusion of velocity in fluid flows, etc. Therefore, it is important to study the heat equation or the diffusion equation. The entire chapter is divided into 4 modules. In module 1, we shall discuss about the occurrence of heat equation in many physical systems. In module 2, 3 and 4, we shall discuss about the solution of diffusion equation in 1 dimension, 2 dimension and 3 dimension respectively. Now, I am going to start module 1 of chapter 5. For discussion, we are going to the PowerPoint presentation of this module. The heat conduction or diffusion equation is given by the partial differential equation K Laplace square T is equal to del T, which is written in equation number 1, where Laplace square is the operator which is equivalent to del 2 del x square plus del 2 del y square plus del 2 del z square. Now, I shall discuss one example where diffusion equation arise. So, let us consider that capital T represent the temperature at a point in a homogeneous isotropic solid. Then the flow of heat is governed by the equation rho C del T is equal to divergence of K grad T plus capital H R T T, where smaller is the position vector, capital T is the temperature at a point and small t represent the time variable, and rho is the density, C is the specific heat and kappa is the thermal conductivity of the solid. In the equation, the term capital H, which is function of smaller capital T small t, denotes the amount of heat generated due to radioactive decay or absorption of heat due to chemical reaction. If in particular we assume that capital H is equal to 0 and the parameter K or the thermal conductivity of the solid is a constant, then the above equation reduces to the form del T of capital T is equal to kappa Laplace square T, where kappa is defined as K by rho C. The equation is written in equation number 2, and if you observe equation 2, this is nothing but heat equation. So, for this case, conduction of heat in a solid, we get heat equation. We shall take another example that is shown here. So, this is the process of diffusion in physical chemistry, where the diffusion of the substance is governed by the equation which is written here del T of C is equals to divergence of D grad C, where C is the concentration of the diffusing substance and capital D is the diffusion coefficient. In most cases, capital D depends on the concentration C, but in some particular case D may be constant. So, if you assume capital D as constant, then the above equation reduces to the form del del T of C is equals to capital D times Laplace square C. So, this is heat equation. So, we get again heat equation for the diffusion process in an isotropic substance. This is another example which shows diffusion in vorticity. Suppose there is a viscous fluid of density rho and viscosity coefficient mu, and it starts from rest into motion. Then vorticity is defined as curl of velocity. If q is the velocity of the fluid, then vorticity omega is defined as curl of q. Then it can be shown that vorticity will satisfy the diffusion equation del omega del T equals to nu Laplace square omega, where nu is the kinematic viscosity, which is defined as mu by rho. So, for diffusion of vorticity, we again get diffusion equation, which is written in equation number 4. And this is the last example where I want to show that we again get heat equation. In this example, we considered the propagation of a long waves in a good conductor. Then the components of electric field vector capital E will satisfy the equation del E del T equals to nu grad square E, where E is the electric field vector and the constant nu is defined as c square divided by 4 pi sigma mu, where c is the velocity of light in free space and sigma is the conductivity of the medium and mu is the permeability. So, for this case electric current, we again get heat equation or diffusion equation. Therefore, we have seen, taking 4 different examples, that heat equation or the diffusion equation arise in many physical problems. In last section, we have discussed about the occurrence of heat equation in many physical problems. Now, I am going to discuss the maximum minimum principle for one dimensional heat equation and its consequences. The maximum minimum principle has been discussed in chapter 4 for Laplace equation. There we got that the maximum or the minimum of Laplace equation occurred in the boundary of the region of harmonicity of the function. The similar type of results occur in case of heat equation. So, for derivation we are going light show. Now, in this section I am going to discuss the maximum minimum principle and its consequences for one dimensional heat equation. The one dimensional heat equation can be written in the form del del T of capital T is equal to kappa del 2T del x square, which is written in equation number 6. Now, in this principle, we want to find the maximum and the minimum value of capital T which satisfies the heat equation, which is written in equation number 6. Let capital R is the region given by 0 less than equals to x less than equals to capital L and 0 less than equals to t less than equals to tau. and this is a closed rectangle. So, if you see the figure, the region capital R is denoted by the shaded region in figure 1. Let gamma be the region which is denoted by xt, which is a part of the region capital T, capital R, such that t equals to 0 or x equals to 0 or x equals to L. So, if we look the figure, the dark line indicates the region gamma. Let capital T be a continuous function in capital R which satisfies equation 6 in capital R, then the maximum minimum principle says that maximum of capital T over the region capital R is attained at the is equals to maximum of capital T in the region gamma. Similarly, the minimum of capital T is attained in the region gamma. Now, we are going to prove this theorem that capital M is the maximum of capital T in the region gamma. We shall show that maximum of capital T over the region capital R is less than equals to capital M. To prove this, we consider an auxiliary function psi is equal to t plus epsilon x square, where epsilon is greater than 0. Now, for xt belongs to R minus gamma, we have L dash psi, where L dash is the operator del del t minus kappa del to del x square. So, if we operate L dash on psi, it will give L dash t plus L dash operating on epsilon x square. So, L dash t is nothing but del del t. So, if we operate L dash on epsilon x square, the first term del del t term will contribute 0 and the next term del to del x square will give the value 2. So, L dash psi becomes minus 2 epsilon kappa. Since kappa and epsilon are greater than 0, so it becomes a negative number, which is given by equation number 7. Also, the value of psi is less than equals to capital M. If we observe the expression for psi, psi is equals to t plus epsilon x square, and we know that maximum of capital T in the region gamma is capital M. Therefore, the value of psi for xt belongs to gamma is less than equals to capital M plus epsilon L square. If psi attains its maximum at an interior point x1 t1, it follows that L dash psi at the point x1 t1 is equals to del del t of psi at the point x1 t1 minus kappa del 2 psi del x square x1 t1. The first term is 0 and the second term means the value of del 2 psi del x square is negative, because we have assumed that psi attains its maximum at the point x1 t1. Therefore, del 2 psi del x square at the point x1 t1 is a negative number. Let that negative number is minus capital K. So, the value of L dash psi at the point x1 t1 becomes greater or equals to 0, and which contradicts the result which is given in equation 7, 7 says that for any xt belongs to r minus gamma, L dash psi is less than 0, whereas this equation, the last equation in this slide, shows that L dash psi is greater equals to 0. So, which is a contradiction. So, the contradiction arises because we assume that psi attains its maximum at an interior point x1 t1. So, psi cannot attain its maximum at an interior point. So, alternately we assume now that psi attains its maximum at a point in the boundary. That means, at a point in del r, where del r equals to the region gamma union small r. Gamma is the region which I have already told. The region gamma is denoted by the dark line in this figure, and we are assuming the region smaller, which is the upper boundary in this figure, which is nothing but the line t is equal to tau. So, delta r is the region gamma union r, where r is the region xt belongs to capital R such that t is equal to tau. Now, we suppose that psi has a maximum value at a point x bar tau, and this x bar tau is a point in small r, and x bar lies between 0 to capital L. Then psi x bar tau is equal to 0. Since we have assumed that psi attains its maximum at the point x bar tau, so its first order derivative is 0 and second order derivative at the point x bar tau is less than equals to 0. Now, psi at the point x bar tau is greater equals to psi at the point x bar t tau minus delta, because psi attains its maximum at the point x bar tau. So, the value of psi in the neighborhood of x bar tau must be less than the value of psi at the point x bar tau. This is the property of having maxima of a function, and this delta can lie in between 0 and tau. Now, if we look the expression for psi t x bar tau, this is partial derivative of psi with respect to t. By definition, this is limit delta tends to 0 psi x bar tau minus delta minus psi x bar tau divided by minus delta. Now, the numerator of this expression is less than 0 using the property which is written here. So, this is less than 0, minus delta less than 0. So, we get this ratio is greater than or equals to 0. Now, if we think about the expression L dash psi at the point x bar tau, which is equals to psi t at the point x bar tau minus kappa psi xx x bar tau. Now, value of this quantity we have just obtained is greater equals to 0, and we also found that psi xx x bar tau is less than equals to 0. Therefore, the value of this expression, that means L dash psi, becomes a non-negative number. That means this is greater or equals to 0, which again contradicts the result which is written in equation 7. Equation 7 says that L dash psi is less than 0 for any point interior in the region R. So, again we get that L dash psi is greater equals to 0 for a point in the region smaller, which contradicts the result which is written in equation 7, which says that L dash psi is less than 0. Therefore, we can conclude that psi cannot attain its maximum at a point in smaller. Therefore, the only alternative is psi can attain its maximum at the point in gamma. Therefore, maximum of psi over the region R is equals to maximum of psi over the region gamma, and we know that psi is equals to T plus epsilon x square. So, maximum of psi is less than equals to capital M plus epsilon L square. Therefore, psi is less than equals to capital M plus epsilon L square. So, for any point in the region capital R, we obtain psi less than equals to M plus epsilon L square. Now, putting the value of psi as T plus epsilon x square. So, this is less than equals to capital M plus epsilon L square. So, capital T is less than equals to capital M plus epsilon into L square minus x square on capital R. And in this relation, epsilon is an arbitrary constant greater than 0. Now, in this relation, if you take epsilon tends to 0, we obtain T x t is less than equals to capital M on R. That is, maximum of capital T in the region capital R is less than equals to maximum of capital T in the region gamma, or in other words, we can say that maximum of the value capital T in the region capital R is attained in the region gamma. Similarly, we can prove that minimum of capital T is attained in the region gamma. So, this is the proof of maximum minimum principle for one dimensional heat equation. Now, using the maximum minimum principle, I want to state the uniqueness theorem. So, this is the statement of uniqueness theorem. If capital T be a solution of heat conduction equation subject to the initial condition T x0 equals to Fx and boundary conditions T 0t equals to G1t, T at Lt equals to G2t, where Fx, G1t and Gt2t are continuous functions of their domains of definition, then the solution of this system is unique. This is the proof. If possible, we assume that there are two solutions, one is T1 and the other one is T2. So, T1 and T2, these two solutions will satisfy the heat equation 6 and they will also satisfy the initial and boundary condition. Now, we consider another function V which is equals to T1 minus T2. Now, it is easy to prove that the function V will also satisfy the heat equation which is written in equation number 6 in the region 0 less than equals to x less than equals to capital L, 0 less than equals to t less than equals to tau, and is a continuous function of x and t. Now, if we think about the initial condition for the function V, then V at x0 is equals to T1 at x0 minus T2 at x0. So, that is equals to T1 at x0 is fx and T2 at x0 is fx, so it becomes 0. So, V at x0 is equals to 0 for 0 less than equals to x less than equals to n, and the boundary conditions V at 0 t is equal to T1 at 0 t minus T2 at 0 t, which is equals to G1 t minus G2 t, G1 t minus G1 t. So, it becomes 0, and similarly V at LT is equals to 0 in 0 less than equals to t less than equals to tau. Hence, Vt satisfies the maximum minimum principle. Therefore, using maximum minimum principle, we can say that the maximum and the minimum value of Vt are attained in the region gamma, and it is given that in the region gamma the value of Vt is 0. Therefore, the maximum and the minimum value of Vt in the whole region capital R is equals to 0. So, this implies that T1 minus T2 is equals to 0 in the region capital R, or in other words T1 is equal to T2 in the region capital R. So, it says that the solution is unique. There is another important theorem, which is stability property or stability theorem. It says that the solution of the heat equation 6 for the Dirichlet conditions, which is defined by T x 0 equals to fx for 0 less than equals to x less than equals to L, and T 0 t equals to G1 t, and capital T L t equals to G2 t depends continuously on the initial and boundary conditions. Thus, in module 1 of chapter 5, we have discussed about the occurrence of heat equation in many physical systems. We have also discussed the maximum minimum principle for one dimensional heat equation. Using that principle, we proved that the solution of heat equation is unique. We have also stated that the solution depends continuously on initial and boundary condition. Now, we end this module.